Hi everyone. In this video, we will be dealing with the questions that were asked for the afternoon shift for NTA UGC NET December 2020, June 2021 cycles. And in the previous video, we have discussed the questions that were asked for the morning shift. So here we will be dealing with the provincial answers to all the questions and the branches from which the questions have came. And if we speak in general, or if we compare the morning shift with the afternoon shift, we can say that it has been an equal distribution of the areas. For example, if you get a question from Paradise Lost in the morning shift, then of course there would be a question from Paradise Lost in the afternoon shift. So the questions have got equal distribution but on different levels. And just like in the morning shift, we can say that there were questions that were asked from chronology, there were questions that were asked from the non-fiction works and literary theory. So if you are preparing for your NTA NET exam, have this in your mind. You have to study everything in a chronological order, because you can expect chronology from any areas. If you have watched the previous videos, we did a video on chronology in order for you to understand what are the different ways in which chronological questions can be asked. So here also you can find that there were different chronological questions. So study in a chronological sense, have a literary sense if you want to answer most of the questions that are asked for these exams. So let's look at the first question. Who wrote the essay, My First Acquaintance with Poets? So we all know it's a very easy question, a very direct question. So My First Acquaintance with Poet is written by William Hazlitt. So we know about William Hazlitt. This is a question from Romantic Age. But if we look at the new syllabus, it's actually a question from the non-fiction work. It's an essay written by William Hazlitt, My First Acquaintance with Poets. So the correct answer is option D, William Hazlitt. Question number 2. In his recasting the canon of English poetry in New Bearings in English Poetry, which of the following pairs was downgraded by F.R. Lewis? So we know about F.R. Lewis. This is a question that's asked from literary theory, because F.R. Lewis is a new critic, and this question is regarding the regarding the essays that he had written. So the question is, in his recasting the canon of English poetry, New Bearings in English Poetry, which of the following writers was degraded by F.R. Lewis? Browning and Arnold, Milton and Shelley, Pound and Hopkins, Tennyson and Swinburne. So here the correct answer is option B, Milton and Shelley. So in this work you can find that F.R. Lewis downgrades Milton and Shelley. So the correct answer is option B, Milton and Shelley. Now coming to the next question, which of the following terms is used to describe spurious words which are the result of inadvertent errors made by copists, printers and editors? So this actually belongs to one of the language questions, and here in this exam, even though NTA has moved their literary device module from the syllabus, you have to face certain questions that were asked from literary device, or we can say out of syllabus. So here the question is like one of the examples of the language questions, and the correct answer to this question is ghost words. Okay, that is option B, ghost words, because that is what is called as the words which are the result of the errors caused by the publishers, like the copyist or the printers and the editors. So the correct answer is option B, ghost words. Moving to the next question, what term did Bertolt Brecht use for his mode of drama writing to distinguish it from traditional theatre? Okay, so the term used by Bertolt Brecht to the theatre that he performed, or to the theatre that he created, and we all know that Bertolt Brecht, these are all some direct questions, we all know that Bertolt Brecht, he is directly connected with the epic theatre. So the correct answer is option A, that is epic theatre. And we know about Bertolt Brecht. This actually belongs to European literature because Bertolt Brecht is a German writer, and we all know about epic theatre also because we have to expect many questions from epic theatre. We actually faced many questions from Bertolt Brecht in the previous year questions. So the correct answer is option A, epic theatre. Moving on to the next question, which of these may be said to be true of the journal published from Bowling Green University from 1969, which carried essays on Spider-Man comics, rock music and detective films? Okay, so this is actually a question that's asked from the non-fiction module because this is from a journal, and the correct answer here you can find that the options given are: it's so to highlight the importance of popular culture, it's so to highlight the importance of elite culture, it's so to buttress the canon by making it more elitist, it's so to break down the dominance of high culture. So we know that the correct answer here, option B and C are wrong, and here the correct answers are option A and D. Okay, so it carried essays on Spider-Man comics, rock music and detective films. It is true because it's so to highlight the importance of popular culture and break down the dominance of the high culture. So the correct answers are option A and D. Let's check the options. A and D comes as option B. So the correct answer is option B. Now moving to the next question, who is the author of the typology of detective fiction? Who is the author of the typology of detective fiction? The options are G.K. Chesterton, Zvitan Todorov, Umberto Eco and Vladimir Propp. So the correct answer is Todorov. So Todorov, he is a French writer, so this belongs to this European literature. So the correct answer is option B, that is Todorov. Now moving to question number 7. Arrange in the right sequence the following stages of a child's first language acquisition. Arrange in the correct right sequence the following stages of a child's first language acquisition: holophrastic, babbling, telegraphic speech and cooing. So this actually belongs to English language teaching. You have to know about this language acquisition and the different modes, the different stages in ELT. So this actually belongs to language and pedagogy as per the new syllabus. So here you have to arrange the right stage in which a child has this language acquisition power. So here the correct, if you look at the correct options, or if we have to arrange it, let's say that the first thing or the first stage that a child pass through is cooing. Okay, so the first one is cooing followed by babbling, cooing which is followed by babbling, followed by holophrastic and finally by telegraphic speech. So cooing, babbling, holophrastic and telegraphic speech. So if you look at the options, it will be D, B, A and C, and D, B, A and C comes as option D. Okay, so that these are the right stages of language acquisition of a child. Question number 8. Which of the following are novels by David Lodge? Okay, you have to identify the novels written by David Lodge. You might be very familiar with David Lodge because he was twice shortlisted for Booker Prize. He was a postmodern writer, and here you have given several novels of different writers, and you have to identify the 3 novels written by David Lodge. So we have The British Museum is Falling Down, which is a novel written by David Lodge. Then we have The Seven Sisters, which is not. Then we have Changing Places, which is again a novel written by David Lodge. Then Nice Work, another novel written by David Lodge. Empire of the Sun, not by David Lodge. So these are the correct answers. Option A, option C and option D. So these are the correct answer. Option A, C and D comes as option answer B. So the right answer is answer B, that is the novels written by David Lodge, the postmodern writer. Now question number 9. Which of the following terms describes a novel of fashionable high life in 19th century English literature? Okay, so here you have to identify the terms in which the term that we used to call a novel, because we know about the 19th century, for the late romantic age and the early Victorian age, the focus of the novels were much about the society, the class differences between the different society. For example, in Wuthering Heights you can find about these class differences, or in Pride and Prejudice of the romantic age you can find about the sophisticated behavior of the upper class people, and also about the concepts of the middle class people. So here you have to identify what is the name used to describe the fashionable high life novels of the 19th century English literature. The correct answer is Silver Frog. Okay, so that's the correct answer, Silver Folk. Okay, so answer D, Silver Folk. Now, question number 10. Which two of the following are works by I.A. Richards? Which two of the following are works by I.A. Richards? I.A. Richards again falls under new criticism. So, this is a question from literary theory, and you have to identify the works written by him. Concepts of criticism, science and poetry, the philosophy of rhetoric, English literature in our time, and the university. So we know that I.A. Richards, his main works are science and poetry and the philosophy of rhetoric. You might be very familiar with philosophy of rhetoric because he has explained many concepts in philosophy of rhetoric, and his other work is science and poetry. So the correct answer is option B and C, and that comes as option number C. Okay, so the correct answer is answer C. Now, question number 11. Which of the following statements are true of English as used in India? Which of the following statements are true of English as used in India? So, this is actually a question from English in India. So, we know it's a new syllabus added by NTA from December 2018. So, from that, you can expect almost, a minimum number of 4 questions from English in India. So, here also this is the first question asked from English in India. So, you have to identify the correct statements. India is counted among the largest English-speaking communities in the world. That's a right statement. No group, community or population of Indians claim English as its mother tongue. That's wrong. More than 50% of Indians speak English fluently. That's also a wrong statement. English is the country's principal language of commerce. That's a right statement. With the growing stature of Hindi as lingua franca, it has supplanted English as the link language between the central government and the states. That's also a false statement. So the correct answers are option A, that is India is counted among the largest English-speaking communities in the world, and option D, English is the country's principal language of commerce. So the correct answers are option A and D, and that comes as answer A. That comes as option A. So the correct answer is option A. Now moving to question number 12. Which of these countries does Montaigne's essay Of Cannibals focus on primarily? So this is a post-colonial essay which comes under post-colonial literature. So here, which of these countries does Montaigne's essay Of Cannibals focus on primarily? Borneo, Brazil, India and Japan. So Of Cannibals, it is basically based on, or is primarily based on Brazil. So the correct answer is option B, that is Brazil. Which of the following is a dead language? Again, another language based questions where you have to have a general idea about the language and also about the history of British literature. You will get some sort of idea regarding this, idea regarding this answer. So, Cantonese, Frisian, Gothic and Yiddish. So, the correct answer is option C, Gothic. You might be familiar with Gothic novels. Okay, so the answer is option C, that is Gothic. Now, question number 14. Two of the following poems are by Judith Wright. Which of the two following poems are written by Judith Wright? So we know about Judith Wright. She is an Australian poet, a feminist writer, and you have to identify the poems written by her. So we have Meditation on a Bone, which is not a poem written by her. Imperial Adam, no. Women to Man, that's a poem written by Judith Wright. The All Prison, that's another poem written by Judith Wright. So the correct options are C and D. C and D comes as option D. So the correct answer to this question is option D. Now the next question is a match the following question where you would be asked from different units, different modules, and in order for this to answer it, you have to have an idea about a particular topic as a whole. That's why I said you have to study everything as a whole apart from randomly picking up stuff. So here the question is, almost all the writers are Indian, but the questions, the essays or the texts given here are post-colonial, belong to the post-colonial theory. So here you have to match the following work. So we have The Lie of the Land, Mask of Conquest, Rethinking English, The Gifts of English. Then we have the authors like Alak Mukherjee, Rajeshwari Sundar Rajan, Gauri Vishwanathan and Swati Joshi. So one of the very common answers, most of you might have known that Mask of Conquest is written by Gauri Vishwanath. That's a very common question. It has been asked for several times. And if we look at the other works, we can say that The Lie of the Land. The Lie of the Land is written by Rajeshwari Sundar Rajan. The Lie of the Land is written by Rajeshwari Sundar Rajan. Then we have The Mask of the Conquest written by Gauri Vishwanathan. Rethinking English written by Swati Joshi, and This Gift of English written by Alak Mukherjee. Okay, so A written by 2, B written by 3, C written by D and 4, and D written by 1. Okay, and if we look at the options, we get A2, B3, C4 and D1. That comes as option B. So the right answer is option B. So all these works are post-colonial works. Now, coming to 16th question, who among the following is associated with a philosophy of praxis? Okay, so Antonio Gramsci, George Lukács, Raymond Williams and Stuart Hall. So Antonio Gramsci, George Lukács and Raymond Williams and Stuart Hall. So which of the following are associated with philosophy of praxis? So here the correct answer is Antonio Gramsci, and we know about Antonio Gramsci. He's a Marxist theorist and a philosopher, and he is normally associated with ideology and other heterology, homology, etc. So here you can find that the correct answer, he is also associated with the philosophy of praxis written by philosophy of praxis, and is associated with Antonio Gramsci. So the correct answer is option A. So question number 17. This is a question that's asked from research methodology, where you have to have an idea about the documentation style as per MLA 8th format, because that's considered to be the standard as per the new thing. So here, which two of the following conform to the documentation style prescribed by the 8th edition of the MLA book? So here the correct answers are, we know option A is wrong. Option B is right. Kincaid Jamaica in History, Kalaalo, Volume 24, Number 2, Spring 2001 and Papers. Now, option C, Nunberg Jeffrey, Editor, The Future of the Book, U of California, P 1996. That's also right. So, B and C are right, and again option D is wrong. So, the correct answer would be option B and C. That comes as answer C. Now, moving to the next question, who among the following has coined the term ecofeminism? So, ecofeminism, it comes under the feminist theory of literary theory. So, here the options are Montague Wettig, Francois de Yon, Helen Sixes and Margaret Dura. So, the correct answer is ecofeminism. The term was coined by Francois de Jonbard. Okay, so that's the correct answer. Option B, Francois de Jonbard. Now moving to the next question, which of the following did Ovier Anuba, Taban to Leong and Ngugi wa Thiong'o object to in 1968? Okay, so here the question are, which of the following did Ovier Anuba, Taban Loi Leong and Ngugi wa Thiong'o object to 1968? So they all comes under post-colonial literature, and they have written essays. And if you look at the works of Ngugi wa Thiong'o, he's familiar because of his works like The Grain of Wheat, which is a very famous work regarding post-colonialism. So here you have to identify what they really objected in their works and in their essays. So the options are the primacy of English literatures and culture. That's a right statement, because that is one thing that they always objected. The second one is the centrality of Africa in the department of English. the primacy of orature in the syllabus. Both of them are wrong. That's what not they objected. Option D, the focus on the study of the historic continuity of English literature. That is also a right statement. So the correct options are option A and option B. So these two are what they objected: the primacy of English literature and its culture, and the study of the historic continuity of English literature. So the correct answer is option A and D, and that comes as option A. So the correct answer is answer option A. Now again another match the following question, and here again this question is from Indian English literature. So they have given the names of the novels and you have to identify the authors. English August, In Custody, Such a Long Journey, and Funny Boy. So in Funny Boy, this was also a question in the morning shift. Then Shyam Selvadurai, Anida Desai, Rohinton Mystery, and Ubamanyu Chatterjee. So these are the correct thing. So let's look at the option. So English August. English August, this is a work written by Ubamanyu Chatterjee. English August is written by Ubamanyu Chatterjee. In Custody, it is written by Anida Desai. Such a Long Journey by Rohinton Mystery. Funny Boy by Shyam Selvadurai. So the correct answer is option D, that is A4, B2, C3 and D1, which comes as answer D. Okay, so the correct answer is answer D, that is option D. Now, question number 21. Arrange the following journals in the chronological order of publication. So, ever since NTA has taken care of the questions, you can find that there was numerous questions from the magazines, the journals, the research books, etc. So, here also in the previous exams, in the 2020 or 2019 exams, you can find several questions from the magazines like, or the journals like the Spectator, the Tatler, the Review. Even in the morning shift, you got almost 2 questions directly from the magazine. So have this in your mind while you are preparing yourself. Take care of these magazines which are related to all the ages of English literature. So you have to identify the journals in the chronological order of publication. So London's Magazine, Cornhill Magazine, Blackwood's Magazine and Bentley's Miscellany. So the correct order would be the first one to be published among here is the Blackwood's Magazine. Okay, so we have the Blackwood's Magazine followed by Bentley's Miscellany, followed by Cornhill Magazine, followed by Longman's Magazine. So we can order it like C, D, B and A. Okay, C, D, B and A. C, D, B, A comes as option D. So the correct answer is option D. Now moving to the next question, which of these characters figure in Samuel Beckett's Waiting for Godot? Okay, Samuel Beckett's Waiting for Godot has got a very particular weightage in for this exam, for this particular exam, because in the morning shift also you got 1 question here, and here you can find 2 questions from Waiting for Godot. So that's important. So we know about Samuel Beckett. He's a postmodern writer, and which of these characters figure in Samuel Beckett's Waiting for Godot? And we know that the correct answer is option A, estrogen. This is a very direct question because estrogen and Vladimir are the central characters in Waiting for Godot. Okay, and another character that come here is Poso. Okay, because Poso he is associated with Lucky. So Vladimir and estrogen, Lucky and Poso. So here the correct answer would be estrogen and Poso. That is A and B. A and B comes as option A. Now moving to the next question, which among the following are examples of consular Roman? So we know about consular Roman, that's actually the growth, the maturity of an author, of an artist. Okay, so that is what is called as consular Roman. For example, Bildungsroman, that's about any ordinary man who has got this physical, spiritual and mental growth, mental development of this central protagonist. And if that central protagonist happens to be an artist, then the particular novels are known to be consular Roman. So here you have to identify which of the novels actually belong to consular Roman. So we know the Portrait of a Lady, David Copperfield, Tom Jones, and the Portrait of the Artist as a Young Man. So these are the correct options, and here the options are A and B, A and C, B and D only, and C and D only. So here we know the portrait of the lady, David Copperfield, a portrait of the artist as a young man. So the correct answer is option B and option D. Okay, option B and D comes as answer option C. So the correct answer is option C. Now, question number 24. Who among the following posits the tradition of great writers as an inescapable fact and takes the ambivalent position of considering it as both a blessing and a curse? Okay, so here it speaks about the tradition of the great writers as an inescapable fact and takes the ambivalent position of considering it as a blessing and as a curse. Okay, and this particular way of thinking or this particular perspective was formulated by Harold Bloom. So, and we know about Harold Bloom, he's a psychoanalytic critic, and again we know that this comes under literary theory. So, the correct answer is option C, that is Harold Bloom. Moving to the next question, with which of the following movements is Charles Baudelaire's Flower of Evil generally associated? With which of the following movements is Charles Baudelaire's Flowers of Evil generally associated? Neoclassical, Symbolist, Modernist and Postmodernist. Okay, so we know about Charles Baudelaire. He is a French writer. He belongs to French literature and therefore European literature. So we have to identify him, and we know that he is generally associated with two things, that is symbolism and modernism. Okay, so the correct answers are option B and option C. Option B and C comes as option C. So the correct answer is option C. So Charles Baudelaire, he is normally associated with symbolism and modernism. Now again another match the following question, which is based on English in India, because this is about the development of the libraries and institutes in India. Asiatic Society, Dwenyeloga, Connemara Public Library and Bhandarkar Oriental Institute. So these are the institutes or the libraries that have been given, and the locations: Kolkata, Chennai, Mysore and Pune. And if we have a match the following with them, we know that Asiatic Society, it is in Chennai. Okay, Asiatic Society, this is in Chennai. Then we have Dwenyeloga, and Dwenyeloga, it stays in Mysore. Okay, Dwenyeloga, it's located in Mysore. Connemara Public Library, this is this is located in Pune. And Bhandarkar Oriental Institute, it's in Kolkata. So if we look at the options, it would be A2, B3, C4 and D1, and that comes as option B, A2, B3, C4, D1. So we can say the correct answer is option B. Question number 27. Which two of the following are fallacious evaluations of poetry according to Matthew Arnold's The Study of Poetry? Which two of the following are fallacious evaluations of poetry according to Matthew Arnold's The Study of Poetry? Okay, so you have to, we know about Matthew Arnold, The Study of Poetry. Matthew Arnold, he is a Victorian age writer. Therefore, this question comes under literary criticism of Victorian age. So, contextual estimate, personal estimate, comparative estimate and historic estimate. So, the correct answer here, the fallacious evaluations of poetry according to Matthew Arnold are personal estimate and historic estimate. Personal estimate and historic estimate, that comes as options B and D. Option B and D. So, for the correct answer is option C. So, question 28. Which of the following are books written by Noam Chomsky? Recently, we have did a video on Noam Chomsky where I have mentioned about the different works written by Chomsky, because this should be considered as a direct question, because for the previous year there were many questions asked from the works written by, just like the name of the works written by Noam Chomsky. So, here you have to identify the works written by him. So, among the options, we know that syntactic structures, it's a work written by Noam Chomsky. Verbal learning and verbal behavior, no. Language and society, no. Aspects of the theory of syntax, this is another work written by him. The pragmatics of politeness, no. So, the correct answers are option A and D. Option A and D comes as option D. Okay, so option A and D comes as option D. So the correct answer is answer D. So Noam Chomsky is very important from net perspective. We know about him, he's a psychoanalytic writer. So it's very important because the way in which his contributions to language acquisitions, the universal grammar, all are very important while we are preparing for the NET. So moving to the next question, this is another chronological question, and these are the works written by, these are the works written by Indian English writers. So here the characters have been given, then the works in which they have been appeared are given, and you have to identify them in a chronological order. So we have Pranesh Acharya, who appears in Samskara, written by your Ananthamurthy. Shaguni, who is a character in Mahabharata. Rusty, the room on the roof. Then Gobar, Gordon. So we know about Rusty. It's a character created by Ruskin Bond. So, and we know from the options, the first one to appear here would be Shaguni, because Shaguni is a character in Mahabharata which has been written in BC. So the first character to appear here is Shaguni, followed by Gobar. Okay, Gobar, who appears in Gordon, and then which is followed by Rusty, that is the room on the roof. Rusty, the room on the roof, and then which is followed by Pranesh Acharya. So if you look at the correct options and the answers correct, if you look at them in chronological, Shaguni followed by Gobar, followed by Rusty, followed by Pranesh Acharya. So the correct answer would be option D, that is B, D, C and A. So the correct answer is answer D. Now, question number 30. Which of these themes best sums up the preoccupation of most of Vijay Tendulkar's plays? Again, another question from Indian English literature. So, Indian English literature has got some weightage in this exam. So, here you have to identify the themes of the works of Vijay Tendulkar. So, we know about Vijay Tendulkar, the very famous Indian playwright. So, which are the important themes that you could find in his works? Dynamics of media, no. Motivations of crime, no. Workings of love triangles, again no. Workings of power, that's one of the important themes that you can find in the works of Vijay Tendulkar, the workings of power. So the correct answer is option D. Again, another chronological question. Arrange the following terms in the chronological order as these appeared in literary theory. Phallogocentrism, locutionary act, interpellation and interpretive community. So, the videos in which we have discussed about the chronological questions, I have said that if you face any such questions, what you have to do is that first place them to the genre or the context or the literary theory in which they belong, and then arrange that theories in a chronological order, so you would get the correct answer. So, here you have to identify the theory at first, and then you have to figure out the meaning. Okay, so here the correct order would be the first one to have appeared here would be locutionary act. So that would be the first one, locutionary act, followed by interpellation of Louis Althusser, and then followed by phallogocentrism, and finally interpretive community. Okay, so these are the chronological order in which they appear, B, C, A and D. That comes as option B. So the correct answer is option B. Now coming to the next question, who is the creator of the character Julian Sorel? Who is the creator of the character Julian Sorel? So the correct answer is Stendhal. So Stendhal, the French writer, he is the creator of the character called Julian Sorel. So the correct answer is option D. Now coming to another match the following question, where you are given the name of the plays and of the playwrights, and you have to identify it. And if you look at this as a whole, you can figure out that all these belongs to post-colonial literature. Madman and Specialist, The Sea at Dauphin, The Trial of Dedan Kimathi and Echo in the Bond. And if we correctly match them with the playwrights, Dennis Scott, Bolsoinga, Derek Walcott, Ngugi wa Thiong'o, we can say that Madman and Specialist, it's a play written by Wally Soyinka. Then The Sea at Dauphin, it's written by Derek Walcott. The Trial of Dedan Kimathi, it is written by Ngugi wa Thiong'o, and Echo in the Bond, written by Dennis Scott. So A2, B3, C4 and D1. And that comes as option B. So the correct answer is option B. So the post-colonial plays and the post-colonial writers, where you have to match them. Now, coming to the next question, this is again another question from Indian English literature. Who is the author of The Truth About Me, A Hijra Life Society? Who is the author of The Truth About Me, A Hijra Life Society? A. Revati, Bama, Mukta Sarvagud, and V. Geeta. A. Revati, Bama, Mukta Sarvagud, and V. Geeta. So, Me, a Hijra life story, it is written by A. Revati. So, it's a work written by A. Revati. So, the correct answer is option A. Now, coming to the next question, given below are two statements. Statement 1, a pidgin is formed by two mutually unintelligible speech communities trying to communicate using the most obvious features of each other's language. This is again a language based question, and you can answer it if you know about what a pidgin is. You might have heard about pidgin and Creole. So, that's the question. Notwithstanding the number of years a pidgin is spoken, it can never become the mother tongue of a community. So here you have to identify which of the statements are true. So here the thing is that the statement 1, that is a pidgin is formed by two mutually unintelligible speech communities trying to communicate using the most obvious features of each other's language. That is what is called as pidgin. So statement 1 is correct, but statement 2 is incorrect. Okay, so if you look at the options, we can find that, yeah, statement 1 is correct, but statement 2 is incorrect. So the correct answer is option C. Now coming to the next question, who is the author of The Otherness of English, India's Anti-Tongue Syndrome? Who is the author of The Otherness of English, India's Anti-Tongue Syndrome? Bino K. John, Yamuna Kashru, Prabal Dasgupta, and S.K. Varma. So, English, India's Anti-Tongue Syndrome is written by Prabal Dasgupta. So, the correct answer is option C, Prabal Dasgupta. So, question number 37, another chronological question where you have to identify the movements, the different literary movements in a chronological order. So, the first thing you have to do is that arrange them with the, associate them with the ages in which they appear. For example, if we know about the lake poets, they appear in the Romantic period, then it would be very easy for you to figure it out in a chronological order. So, here the first group of poets who would appear here would be the Cavalier poets, and the Cavalier poets followed by the lake poets, followed by the images poet, and finally by the movement poet. So if you look at the options B, D, A and C, B, D, A and C comes as option A. So the correct answer is option A. So now coming to the next question about Frantz Fanon. So Frantz Fanon, he belongs to post-colonial literature. Which of the following statements best articulates Frantz Fanon's political position? Colonialism will die a natural death sans any violent struggle against it? No. Peasants and social outcasts have little revolutionary potential in Africa? No. Social oppression in the third world is a matter more of race than of a class? No. The African bourgeois can never succeed in the task of nation building. That can be considered to be the correct Frantz Fanon's political position. So the correct answer is option D. Okay, so that's the correct answer. Now coming to question 39, this is a question from John Milton. So we know about John Milton, who is a writer in the Civil War and Interregnum period. And if we speak about Milton and his Paradise Lost, you can get a large number of questions from the previous year questions asked from John Milton. So here this is another question. This was not asked previously, just the topic, just the Paradise Lost. In which book of Paradise Lost does Milton refer to Agra and Lahore of Great Mughal? Agra and Lahore of Great Mughal, and that appears in book 11. So it is in book 11 that he makes the reference to Agra and Lahore of Great Mughal. That is, in this book he refers to the Indian culture. So the correct answer is option D, that is in book 11. Now next question, what was the sender setup for studying culture at the University of Birmingham called? So this is a question from cultural studies. So you know that cultural studies, it was always there in the syllabus, but it was given extra privilege when added to be the another module by NTA NET from December 2018. So ever that there were questions from cultural studies, but there were also certain exams where you cannot expect any particular questions from cultural studies. But anyway, in this shift, or in the morning and the afternoon shift, you got much questions from cultural studies. So this is about what was the center for studying culture at the University of Birmingham called Center for Contemporary Cultural Studies, Center for Contemporary Studies, Center for Cultural Studies and Center for New Cultural Studies. The correct answer is option A, Center for Contemporary Cultural Studies. So the correct answer is option A. Now, this is another research methodology question. Which of the following abbreviations refers to a documentation style? Arial, MFS, MHRA, PMLA. So the correct answer is option C, MHRA. So that is the abbreviation refers to a documentation style. The correct answer is option C, MHRA. Now, question number 42, another question from cultural studies. Which of the following is true of mass media? It usually has a central single source. It can affect a localized population only. It usually has multiple sources. Its audience is in close proximity to its source. So the correct answer regarding mass media is it usually has a central single source. So that is the correct answer regarding mass media. It usually has a central single source. Now, question number 43. Given below are two statements. Statement 1. The opening and closing lines of Waiting for Godot are spoken by Estrogen. Statement 2. Towards the end of the play Waiting for Godot, Estrogen echoes Poso's statement, they give birth astride of a grave. So here, this is the second question that's asked from Samuel Beckett's Waiting for Godot. You have, you go to know about another question that was asked for this shift, and there was also another statement question that was asked from Samuel Beckett's Waiting for Godot in the morning shift. If you look at the video, you can get the question. So here you have to identify which of the two statements are right. So here we know that statement 1, the opening and closing lines of Waiting for Godot are spoken by Estrogen. That's a correct statement. Statement 2, towards the end of the play Waiting for Godot, Estrogen echoes Poso's statement, they give birth astride of a grave. That's a wrong statement. So we can say that statement 1 is correct and statement 2 is incorrect. Statement 1 is correct and statement 2 is incorrect. It appears in option D. So the correct answer is option D. Now, question number 44. How does T.S. Eliot sum up the peculiar quality of Marvel's Horatian Ode? How does T.S. Eliot sum up the peculiar quality of Marvel's Horatian Ode? And we know about T.S. Eliot, he has written a large number of critical works. So this question comes under literary criticism because this is a question regarding T.S. Eliot's criticism on metaphysical poets. So here let's look at the correct answer. A contrast of ideas different in degree but the same in principle, no. A tough reasonableness beneath a slight lyric grace, that's one of the correct statement. Heterogeneity of materials compelled into unity, no. Telescoping of images and multiplied associations, no. So we can say that among here the correct statement would be option B. Okay, a tough reasonableness beneath a slight lyric grace. So the correct answer is option B. Now question number 45. Usage in You Have His the Mystery Lectures is an example of. Usage in You Have His the Mystery Lectures is an example of, as I said earlier, the topic of literary devices that was removed by NTA from December 2018, but you can find questions asked from the principal. So even if you look at the syllabus, you always have to expect 2 or 3 questions that are asked from out of syllabus. Error of lexical choice, inadvertent mistake, meta-thesis and spoonerism. So the correct answer is spoonerism. You have His the Mystery Lectures. That is actually an example of spoonerism. So the correct answer is option D, spoonerism. Now 46. Which of the following fictional characters is believed to be based on the 15th century real life character Vlad the Impaler? So we all know about Vlad the Impaler, and that was the first name of Dracula. Okay, so Count Dracula, written by, Count Dracula, the novel written by Bram Stoker. It's considered to be a postmodern age work, and that is basically believed to be Vlad the Impaler. Okay, so I think anyone who have watched the movie, anyone who have read the novel, for them it would be a direct question. So the correct answer is option A, Count Dracula. Now 47. Who among the following says that ideology is a representation of the imaginary relationship of individuals to their real conditions of existence? Who among the following says that ideology is a representation of the imaginary relationship of individuals to their real conditions of existence? So the correct answer, this is actually given by Louis Althusser, and we know about Louis Althusser. He is a Marxist philosopher. So he is the one who gave this sort of definition to ideology, a representation of the imaginary relationship of individuals to their real conditions of existence. So the correct answer is option C, Louis Althusser. Now next is a match the following question asked from different branches. So here you are given the names of the writers and the books, so you have to match them. Homi Bhabha, T.S. Eliot, Roland Barthes and John Frisk. The books are Reading the Popular, The Location of the Culture, Notes Towards the Definition of Culture, Image, Music and Text. So if you look at the correct options, you can find that Homi Bhabha is the author of The Location of Culture. T.S. Eliot is the author of Notes Towards a Definition of Culture, Roland Barthes Image, Music, Text and John Frisk Reading the Popular. So again the options are A2, B3, C4 and D1, and that comes as option B. Okay, so the correct answer is option B. Now another match the following, where you are asked to write the poem and you have to identify the poem to the poet, and it wouldn't be that hard because most of the poems are really very familiar, especially The Rod Not Taken or Tonight I Can Write the Saddest Line. So we know from the options, we know that the Rod Not Taken, it is written by Robert Frost. The Tonight I Can Write the Saddest Line is a very beautiful poem written by Pablo Neruda. I Hear America Singing is written by Walt Whitman. That's also a very famous poem. It's an elegy on Abraham Lincoln. I Too Sing America, it's written by Langston Hughes. So A2, B1, C4 and D3. That comes as option B. So the correct answer is option B. Now coming to question number 50. Which two of the following are the earliest colonial publishing initiatives that apply to India? Which two of the following are the earliest colonial publishing initiatives that apply to India? Andrew Lang Colonial Book Series, Murray Colonial and Home Library Series, Colonial Library Series by Macmillan, Colonial Library Series by Chatto and Windows. So here this actually is a post-colonial area, and the correct answer here would be, that means the earliest colonial publishing initiatives that can be applied to India are Murray Colonial and Home Library Series, Murray Colonial Home Library Series, Colonial Library Series by Macmillan. So these two would be the correct answers, that is option B and C, that comes as option C. So the correct answer to this question is option C. Now coming to the next question, arrange the following in their chronological order. So this is basically an English in India question, and you have to identify so these are all the different events that happen in relation to the use of English or in relation to the evolution of English in India. So you have to identify the events in their correct chronological order. So here we have English replaces Persian as official language of the company, arrival of Charles Grant in India, universities established in Calcutta, Bombay and Madras, construction of Fort William in Calcutta. So the first thing that happened, the first event that happened among the four is the construction of Fort William in Calcutta. So the option D, that's the first thing that happened, and which was followed by arrival of Charles Grant in India, and after that we can say that English replaces Persian as the official language of the company, and finally universities established in Calcutta, Bombay and Madras. So these are the correct options, D, B, A and C, which comes as option C. So the correct answer is option C. Now coming to the next question, who wrote the short story The Water? Who wrote the short story The Water? Chimamanda Ngozi Adichie, Chinua Achebe, Ngugi wa Thiong'o, Walt Soyinka. Chimamanda Ngozi Adichie, Chinua Achebe, Ngugi wa Thiong'o and Walt Soyinka. You have to identify the writer of the short story The Water. The Water is a short story written by Chinua Achebe, the African writer. So the correct answer is option B, Chinua Achebe. Okay, again another statement question. Given below are two statements. Statement 1, all research being original and uninspired, it is rare for a researcher to begin a project by deriving ideas from the predecessors. All research being original and uninspired, it is rare for a researcher to begin a project by deriving ideas from the predecessors. Statement 2, studying and documenting past work on a research topic stifles the continual expansion of human knowledge. So here, this is actually a question based on research methodology, and it's very clear from both the statements that both of them are incorrect. Statement 1 and statement 2, both of them are incorrect. So the correct answer is option B. Statement 1 and statement 2 are incorrect. Now coming to the next question, who wrote a postmodern reworking of Charles Dickens' Great Expectation without altering the original title? Who wrote a postmodern reworking? So this is a question based on the Victorian age writer, that is Charles Dickens, and the postmodern age writer, that is Kathy Acker, because it is Kathy Acker who reworked on Charles Dickens' Great Expectation without altering the title. The title is same. So the correct answer is option B, Kathy Acker. Now coming to question number 55, which of these is identified by Ariel Dorfman and Armand Mutterlard as having been deployed in Walt Disney comic books to propagate imperialist ideas? So you can find a similar question in the morning shift regarding regarding Walt Disney. So you have to identify the correct answer. Defecation, impoverishment, infantilization and personification. So the correct answer is option C, that is infantilization. Now again another match the following question. Text, advancement of learning, author, advancement of learning, past and present, English traits, illness and metaphor, Susan Sontag, Francis Bacon, Thomas Carlyle and R.W. Ralph Waldo Emerson. So you have to have this in your mind. Ever since they have added this module called short stories and non-fiction, there were many questions that were asked from non-fiction and also from short stories, which was not that a familiar concept before this revision of the syllabus. So while you are reading through all the works written by all the writers for your NTA NET exam, also go for the non-fiction works that they have written. So we have Advancement of Learning. We know it's a work written by Francis Bacon, and then we have Past and the Present written by Thomas Carlyle, English Traits written by R.W. Emerson, and Illness as Metaphor written by Susan Sontag. So A2, B3, C4 and D1, and that comes as option B. A2, D3, C4 and D1. So that comes as option B. Now next question. Another chronological question where you have to identify the text in the terms of the years in which they have published. So this is again a direct question. Just if you can place the writers with their respective ages, you can answer this question. Edmund Spenser, the Fairy Queen, he belongs to the Elizabethan age. Then we have Coleridge and Wordsworth of the Romantic age. Then we have Pablo Neruda, and finally Charles Baudelaire, the French writer. And if we have to arrange them in a chronological order, we know the first work to appear here is Edmund Spenser's The Fairy Queen, and next one is Coleridge and Wordsworth, Lyrical Ballads, which was published in 1798. And then we have Charles Baudelaire's The Flower of Evil, the modern age work, and finally Pablo Neruda's Canto General. So the correct answer would be, order would be A, B, D and C. A, B, D and C comes as option B. So the correct answer is option B. Now, next question, which of the following are true of the dramatic legacy of Ben Jonson? Which of the following are true of the dramatic legacy of Ben Jonson? We know about Ben Jonson, an Elizabethan and Jacobean age writer, and we know about the contributions of Jonson regarding the comedy of humors, the mask, etc. So this is regarding it. Jonson's physiological interpretation of character and personality did not have any precedent. That cannot be considered to be true. Taking after the practice of the moralities and interludes, Jonson named his dramatist personae aptronomically. That's one right statement regarding him. So we can say that option B is right. Chapman's All Fools and Middleton's A Trick to Catch the Old One belong to the genre of comedy of humors that Jonson is said to have pioneered. That is also regarding that can also be considered. John Marston and Thomas Dekker collaborated with Johnson in writing for a children's company of players. So here these are the options that's given here, and we know that the correct answers are option B and C, that is regarding the morality and interludes, and Chapman's works regarding the comedy of humor. So the correct answer is option B and C. Now coming to an assertion reason question. Given below are two statements. One is labeled as assertion A and the other is labeled as reason R. As I have already said, while you are answering this question, there are certain things that you have to look. At first you have to look whether both these statements are right. Then you have to look whether the reason is appropriate enough to justify this assertion. So let's look at this statement. The implied reader shifts attention from the real reading individual to a disembodied dimension of reception intricately interwoven into the text. The dear reader invoked in the realist novels is a fictional representation of the distant reader. So both of them, they belong to this reader response theory, and about the way in which the role of the reader actually works in such a theory. So we have to say that option A, that is the implied reader shifts attention from the real reading individual to a disembodied dimension of reception intricately interwoven into the text. That's a right statement. But the dear reader invoked in the realist novel is a fictional representation of the distant reader. That statement is incorrect. So we can say that A is correct but R is incorrect, and that comes as option A. So the correct answer is option A. Now coming to question 60, who wrote The Labyrinth of Solitude? Gabriel Garcia Marquez, Gabriela Mistral, George Louis Borges and Octavia Paz. So the correct answer, that means the author of The Labyrinth of Solitude is Octavio Paz. So he's a Mexican poet and a diplomat. So the correct answer is Octavio Paz, that is option D. So the correct answer is option D, Octavio Paz. Now coming to the next question, arrange the following terms in their chronological sequence of association. So again, as I said, if you have to look at it, you have to associate them with their respective context or the genres, and then you have to arrange that context or genre with the correct in the correct chronological order. So here we have dissociation of sensibility, unreliable narrator, theatre of cruelty and egoistical sublime. So the first one to appear here is egoistical sublime, because that's a romantic age. That's by Keats, so it's a romantic age work. Then we have, egoistical sublime, it's a romantic age, so that's the first one to appear, followed by dissociation of sensibility. Dissociation of sensibility, that is one thing that's propagated by T.S. Eliot. And then we have the theatre of cruelty, that's almost to the modern postmodern age. And finally unreliable narrator, which is a result of this postmodern literature. So we can say that the correct order in which they have to be appear is D, A, C and B. So D, A, C and B comes as option C. So the correct answer is option C. Now coming to the next question, which character in Hamlet utters the line, something is rotten in the state of Denmark? This statement is important because everything in this particular play is related to this statement. It's related to this statement, and this is the first statement in Hamlet because it speaks about how rotten that Denmark has become compared to the age in which King Hamlet ruled. And this statement is actually given by Marcellus to Horatio. So the correct answer is option D, Marcellus. Now coming to the next question, who is the author of Radiant Textuality? Who is the author of Radiant Textuality? Jerome McGann, Gerald Graff, James Thorpe and Richard D. Altick. Jerome McGann, Gerald Graff, James Thorpe and Richard D. Altick. Radiant Textuality, it is written by Jerome McGann. He is an American scholar and he is the author of Radiant Textuality. So the correct answer is option A, Jerome McGann. Which two are the works of Ted Hughes? So we knew about Ted Hughes. He is a Nobel Prize winner. Wildtrak, Woodrow, Lupercal and Jack Straws Castle. So this is a question related to postmodernism, where you have to identify the works written by Ted Hughes. And we know about Ted Hughes, how he used animal symbolism. So technically this can be considered to be a very direct question. So the two works written by Ted Hughes are Vodvo and Lupercal. So these are the two works, that is option B and C, that comes as option C. So the correct answer is option C. Now coming to the next question, which book by J.G. Ballard is about a virus that freezes anything it comes in contact with? So this is a science fiction novel and the work is written by J.G. Ballard and you have to identify the work. So J.G. Ballard is an English novelist who appears in the postmodern period, and if you look at the options, that is Concrete Island, Kingdom Come, The Crystal World, The Drowned World. The Drowned World is actually a very famous work written by J.G. Ballard, and we can say that he is actually the first who became associated with the new wave of science fiction for his post-apocalyptic approach, especially in his work The Drowned World. But here the correct answer is option C, The Crystal World. Okay, because the freezes anything, the word crystal, it can be associated. So the correct answer is option C. Now coming to the next question, which of these departments did the Woods Dispatch of 1854 recommend setting up the university? So again another English in India question regarding the Woods Dispatch of 1854. So here the question is recommend setting up in the universities, Arabic, English, French and law. So we know that English is a correct answer, and apart from that, except French, all the other languages have been taken here. That is Arabic, English and law was considered to be setting up in the university. So the correct answer is option A, that is A, B and D, Arabic, English and law. Now coming to another question, this is regarding Indian, this actually belongs to Indian English literature because Urvashi Butalia, she is an Indian feminist scholar and a writer. So which of the following does Urvashi Butalia's The Other Side of Silence primarily seek to do? To understand the partition as something more than a political divide. That's a correct statement. To foreground a personal history of the partition. That's also a right statement. To foreground the partition as an even more tragic than the Holocaust. No. To find and unite families separated at the partition. No. So we can say that A and B are the correct areas or the correct things that she wanted to address in her work, The Other Side of Silence. So the correct answer is option A, that is A and B only. Now coming to the next work, next question. This you have given the name of the authors and the text, and you have to identify it. Again, this is a mixing up of these genres and the modules, because if you look at the different works, there is a problem play, at the same time there is a poem, etc. And you have to identify the authors and the text. So Robert Browning, S.T. Coleridge, A.W. Pinero, Alfred Tennyson and William Wordsworth, Queen Mary, the second Mrs. Tanqueray, Remorse, The Borders and Strafford. Okay, so these are the correct options. So you have to identify it. We know that Robert Browning, he is the author of Strafford. It's a problem play, Robert Browning and Strafford. And then we have Samuel Taylor Coleridge, who is the author of his play, that is Remorse. Okay, so normally this question is regarding the area in which the problem plays of the writers who are not that famous playwrights. Then we have A.W. Pinero, and A.W. Pinero is known for the second Mrs. Tanqueray. And then we have Alfred Tennyson, who is known for Queen Mary, and William Wordsworth, who is actually known for his work, The Borders, which is his only play written by William Wordsworth. So that is the correct option. So if you put them in order, we can say that A can be connected with 5, B can be connected with 3, C 2, D 1 and E 4, and that comes as option D. So the correct answer is option D. Now, who in the world as India argues that English can be the only common unifying language of India? Here the correct answer is given by Susan Sontag. Okay, so this is regarding post-colonial, this is regarding the post-colonial literature. Which of the following writers believe that English can be the only common unifying language of India? It's actually given, the statement is actually given by Susan Sontag. So the correct answer is option D. Now next question, which of the following qualify for the label cultural intermediary in the context of a commercial film? Which of the following qualify for the label cultural intermediary? So cultural intermediary, commercial film, all this again comes under popular culture, that is cultural studies, and you have to identify the you have to identify the culture who can be labeled as cultural intermediary in the context of a commercial film. Okay, so the film magazine columnist, that's correct. The director, the fans club, that's also correct. The producer, no. So the correct answer, or the people related to movies who can be labeled as the cultural intermediary, are the film magazine columnist and the fan club. So they are the people, they are the ones who are connected, or who actually connects the culture, who actually connects the movie with the people, so that they are the culture intermediary. A and C. A and C comes as option A. So question 71. Who among these are songwriters who have been awarded the Nobel Prize for Literature? So here the correct answer are Rabindranath Tagore, who won the Nobel Prize in 1913, and Bob Dylan. Bob Dylan won the Nobel Prize for Literature in 2016 for his new poetic expression, for bringing out new poetic expressions in song tradition. So the correct answers are option B and C. So that appears in option C. So the correct answer is option C. Now, question number 72. Arrange the following poems by W.B. Yeats in the chronological order of the publication. So here, this is much more a very precise chronological questions, where you have to identify the poems with the dates and the years of the publication of a particular author. So it would be really difficult. The Wild Swans at Cooley, The Second Coming, Among School Children, and Adam's Curse. But it wouldn't be that hard. Why? Because if you while you are preparing, if you look at all the works of the writers in their chronological order, then something would register in your mind which would actually make it easy to answer. Okay, anyway, let's look at the correct order in which they appear. The first poem written by W.B. Yeats among here is Adam's Curse. Okay, so the first work is Adam's Curse, followed by The Wild Swans at Cooley, followed by The Second Coming and Among School Children. So D, A, B and C. D, A, B, C appears as option D. So the correct answer is option D. Now coming to the next question, which of these are generally taken to be true of cultural studies? Another question from cultural studies, and that is it is politically engaged. That's a very right statement. It privileges text over context. That is not right. It has a symbiotic relationship with formalism. No. It studies the measures of production of a text. That is correct statement. So we can say that A and D are the correct statement regarding cultural studies, and A and D appears as option B. So the correct answer is option B. Now coming to the next question, another chronological order question. So this is why I am repeatedly telling you to look at the things in a chronological order, because you can answer more than 10 or 11 questions if you have that sense in you. So choose the right chronological sequence of the following books: Arundhati Roy, The God of Small Things; Kiran Desai, The Inheritance of Laws; Shashi Deshpande, That Long Silence; and Jhumpa Lahiri's The Namesake. Okay, so you have to identify here, and the first work that appears among here is Shashi Deshpande, That Long Silence. Shashi Deshpande's That Long Silence, followed by Arundhati Roy's The God of Small Things, and then followed by Kiran Desai's The Inheritance of Laws, and Jhumpa Lahiri's The Namesake. Okay, so that would be the correct order, that is C, A, D and B. C, A, D and B, and that would be option C. Okay, so option C, C, A, D and B. Now coming to the next question, according to Ferdinand de Saussure, language is, okay, so again you can, another question from Saussure. So for years you have been getting questions from Saussure. He is a very famous structuralist, and therefore he is someone who can be considered to be the father of English linguistics, or father of the modern linguistics. So he is very important when it comes to structuralism and also from a net point of view, and you have to identify the correct definition of language according to Saussure. Okay, so here an interlocking structure, that's a correct statement. And then a system of constant change, no. A system of signs, that's right, because sign is equal to signifier plus signified. So according to him, language is actually a system of signs. A self-standing formation? No. So we can say that according to Ferdinand de Saussure, language is an interlocking structure and a system of signs. So A and C only. So the correct answer is option B. Now coming to the next question, words with the same pronunciation and different meanings are? Okay, another language based question. Homonyms, homographs, homoglogues and homophones. So the correct answer is homophones. Words with the same pronunciation and different meanings. For example, banks, like the central bank and the river bank. It's like the same pronunciation and different meanings. So that is considered to be homophones. Now 77, he said the set of inflected forms taken by a single word. The set of inflected forms taken by a single word, that is lexeme. Okay, this comes as a part of language and pedagogy about the language studies. The inflected forms taken by a single word is called as lexeme. Now moving to the next question, which of the following narrative cycles is referred to in Michel Foucault's What is an Author? So we know about Michel Foucault, he is a postmodern theorist and a philosopher. So in his What is an Author, he refers to the narrative cycle of the 1001 Nights. Okay, the Arabian Nights, that is the 1001 Nights. So the correct answer is option C, the 1001 Nights, because that is the work that is referred by Michel Foucault in his work What is an Author. The correct answer is option C. Now, another match the following question where you have to identify the novel with its writer. A Handful of Dust, Brington Rock, Howard's End, The Plum Serpent and Those Barren Leaves. And the writers are E.M. Forster, Evelyn Waugh, D.H. Lawrence, Aldous Huxley and Graham Greene. Okay, so you have to identify the novels with their respective writers. So we know that A Handful of Dust, it is written by Evelyn Waugh. Okay, Handful of Dust because the title is taken from associated with T.S. Eliot. So Handful of Dust, Evelyn Waugh. Handful of Dust, Evelyn Waugh. And then we have Brington Rock written by Graham Greene. And then we have Howard's End written by E.M. Forster. The Plum Serpent written by D.H. Lawrence and Those Barren Leaves written by Aldous Huxley. So if you look at the correct order, it would be like A2, B5, C1, D3 and E4, and that comes as option B, A2, B5, C1, D3 and E4. So the correct answer is option B. Now another statement question. Given below are two statements, that is language is not a reliable tool of communication, says deconstruction, but argues in favor of a theory of sign as a self-sufficient union of signifier and the signified. Okay, so this is a statement question regarding the philosophy of deconstruction. If you know about the principles and the ideology of deconstruction, you would be able to answer this question. And from the very statement, it's very clear that the statement 1 is incorrect regarding deconstruction. Statement 2, deconstruction claims that language is non-referential since it refers neither to the things in the world nor to our concepts of things but only to the play of signifiers. That's a correct statement. So we can say that statement 1 is incorrect and statement 2 is correct. And that comes as option D. So the correct answer is option D. Now coming to the next question, which Shakespearean comedy is structured as a play within a play? Okay, so here this is considered to be one question that you can actually challenge, but there were many doubts regarding that. The correct answer given by NTA UGC NET is The Taming of the Shrew, and many of the students have said that that's a wrong statement. The correct answer is Midsummer Night's Dream, but you have to understand that Taming of the Shrew is also a very perfect example of play within a play, because this is actually the question is which Shakespearean comedy is structured as a play within a play. Okay, the question is not which Shakespearean comedy has play within a play in it, but the question is which Shakespearean comedy is structured as a play within a play. Okay, here we know that The Taming of the Shrew, this is actually the story of Catherine Beatrice, etc. The story is actually a play performed to a person who is actually tricked to be a nobleman. Okay, he got drunk and he is tricked by his fellow people to be a nobleman, and they perform a play called The Taming of Shrew to them. Okay, so here we can say that the entire play, that is the Taming of Shrew, it is structured as a play within a play. But A Midsummer Night's Dream, it has got play within a play in it. Okay, because the characters called the Nick Bottom, etc., the Nick Bottom, Robin, etc., they perform a play called Theridamas and Pisbe. Okay, Pisbe and Theridamas as a part of a play, or as a play within the play, and they perform it before the Duke. Okay, before the Duke. So this has got play within the play, but this is structured as a play within the play. So we have to say that the answer D, that is the Taming of the Shrew, is also a correct answer. Or we have to say that the Taming of the Shrew, that is a right answer. There were many confusions regarding this question. So the correct answer is option D. Now, who among the following was of the view that poetry was only an imitation of an imitation and therefore not trivial? So we know that the correct answer here is Plato. Plato is a Greek critic, therefore this comes under literary criticism, and we know that Plato, he banished poets from his republic, and Plato considered poetry to be an imitation of an imitation, okay, twice removed from reality, and therefore it is corrupt. So the correct answer is option C, that is Plato. Now, question number 83. In the function of criticism at the present time, what is proposed by Matthew Arnold as the essence of criticism? Okay, so here this actually comes under literary criticism. So you have to identify what is regarded by Matthew Arnold as the essence of criticism, that is disinterestedness. Okay, so that is the correct answer. Disinterestedness, that is regarded to be the correct or the essence of criticism according to Matthew Arnold. You have to be objective. Now, question 84, this is a research methodology question, and you would get the answer if you have got this idea about this MLA format. The MLA style sheet, a compilation of scholarly conventions and directives, was first published in. The MLA style sheet, a compilation of scholarly conventions and directive, was first published in. It was first published in 1951. So the correct answer is option A, 1951. Now, which two of the following essays form part of Mikhail Bakhtin's The Dialogic Imagination 4 essays? So, in our previous videos, we have discussed about Mikhail Bakhtin and the concept of dialogism of Bakhtin. So, if you have watched this video, you would get the answer. Which two of the following essays form part of his Mikhail Bakhtin's The Dialogic Imagination and 4 essays? From the history of novelist discourse, discourse in the novel, romance and novel, forms of time, and the chronotype of the novel. So here, discourse in the novel and forms of time and the chronotype in the novel. These are the two things that, essays that forms as a part of the dialogic imagination 4 essays. So the correct answer is B and D, and that comes as option D. So the correct answer is answer D. Okay, which pair of linguists in the following list is associated with speech acts? Okay, which pair of linguists is associated with these speech acts? Franz Boas and Radolf Carnap, no. J.L. Austin and John Searle. That's the right answer, because both of them, they are linguists and they are associated with the speech acts. So we have to say that Austin and Searle, they are the correct answer. Answer, that is option B. The correct answer is option B. Now, another question regarding cultural studies. Which of these are true of Raymond Williams' Culture and Society? Okay, which of these are true regarding Raymond Williams' Culture and Society? It critiques the idea of high culture. That's a very right statement. So option A is right. It overlooks the idea of high culture. No. It defines culture as a way of life. That's the clear-cut definition of culture and society. It equates culture with science. No. So the correct answers are option A and C. Option A and C appears as option A. So the correct answer is option A. Now another match the following question, where you are given the books and then you have given the poets, and if you look at the poets, you would be clear that these all are the poets who belong to the metaphysical poets. Okay, so who are called as the metaphysical poets. So we have Anniversaries, The Temple, The Rehearsal, Transposed, and Pintarch Odes. Okay, so these are the works, and if you arrange them, we have A. Anniversaries is written by John Donne. Anniversaries is written by John Donne. The Temple is written by George Herbert. The Rehearsal Transposed is written by Andrew Marvell, and Pinter Quotes are written by Abram Cowley. So we have A2, B3, C4 and D1, and that comes as option B. Okay, so that comes as option B. Now, again another question from Metaphysical Poets by Samuel Johnson. We know that Samuel Johnson, he has written an essay regarding the life and the writings of metaphysical poets. So this is a question belongs to literary criticism by Samuel Johnson. In the life of Cowley, which two of the following criticism were made by Samuel Johnson against a group of writers he termed as the metaphysical poets? They made an inappropriate combination of wit and imagination. No. Instead of writing poetry, they only wrote verses. That is right according to Samuel Johnson. And then they neither copied nature nor life. That's also right. They never tried to be singular in their thoughts. No. So we can say that B and C. That is the correct option. So B and C comes as option B. Now next question. Which two among the following condemn the transportation of 50,000 slaves into England in 1771? Which two among the following condemned the transportation of the slaves in England? Samuel Johnson, Alexander Pope, Horace Walpole and Thomas Gray. So here the correct answer are, correct answers are Samuel Johnson and Horace Walpole, Enlightenment age critic, and Horace Walpole, a romantic age writer. So Samuel Johnson and Horace Walpole, they are the one who condemned the transportation of 50,000 slaves into England in 1771. So the correct answer is option B, A and C, that is Samuel Johnson and Horace Walpole. Now let's look at the next 10 sets of questions. So these are the questions that were asked as paragraph questions. So you would be given 4 extracts. Okay. 4 extracts, and from these 4 extracts you have to answer the 10 questions. Some of these questions are directly asked from the passage, but for some you have to have a clear-cut idea about the novel or the work in which that particular extract appears. Okay, so this is the first essay given by here. And if you want to read the passage, just pause the video and read the entire one before answering the question. Okay, so let's look at the question. So this is actually an extract taken from Montaigne's essay of Solitude. So the question is, the principal worries of our life follows us if we. So this is also a direct question. There are 2 answers. Detach ourselves from family life, are deep into buying and selling, mentally abstain from hassle and bustle, are into schools of philosophy. So if you have read the passage, you can answer the question. So these are the options. Okay, so among here, B and D are the correct statement. That is, are deep into buying and selling, are into schools of philosophy. So the correct answer is option C. Now, question 92. Which of the following best captures the theme of the passage? Ruling a state is easier than managing a family. Solitude is one condition of peace with oneself. The court and the marketplace must be got rid of. Try what one may, no one can ever be in ease. So, the best theme that is that if you have read the passage, you would know that try what one may, no one can ever be at ease. Okay, so that is the correct theme of the passage. Moving on to the another question asked from there. The mistake human beings make is to abjure solitude when desirable, abstain from restraining the mind, abstain from the love of leisure, exaggerate the value of family. The correct answer is option B, abstain from restraining the mind. Now the next extract is a poem written by W.B. Yeats, a prayer for old age. God guard me from those thoughts men think. So read this poem and then you can answer the upcoming questions. Thoughts true for all time are. The correct answer is born of God's care. Okay, born of God's, the options are born of God's care, felt deep inside the self, for all human hearts and imbued with logic of mind. The correct answer is the thoughts true for all time are felt deep inside the self. If you read the passage, if you read the poem, you will get this answer. Now, in the second stanza, the poet thinks of what all earns all others praise, no. What all makes a wise old man? What he does not want to appear. So this is the right statement, that is option 3. And what he thinks he is a fool. So the correct answer is answer C. Now, which of the following best captures what we infer about the poet? He believes in the efficacy of prayer. He is a foolish young man who thinks wisely. He is an old man, wise as older, and he is old but happy in not being wise. Okay, so the correct answer is option D. He is old but happy in not being wise. Okay, we know about W.B. Yeats, his concept of Byzantium, why he felt that his land is not perfect for the all people to live. Okay, so that is the thing, option D. Now, there is another extract which is taken from a novel written by Charles Dickens, that is Dombey and the Son. So, in order to answer the questions that are asked from this extract, it would be better if you know about the work, the characters, or what happens in this Dombey and Son. Okay, so here the first question regarding this passage, that is Dombey and the Son, is regarding the statement that to preserve inviolate a system of which they were the center. So you have to identify that. What is the system of which Dombey and the Son were the center? And if you want to understand that, the correct answer is the country's commerce. But if you want to answer this question, you have to have an idea about what this Dombey and the Son novel revolves around. So the correct answer is anyway the country's commerce. That is option B. The correct answer is option B. Now, the whole description is an example of analogy, aporia, image and sarcasm. The correct answer is sarcasm. Okay, so option D. Now, another passage which is taken from Shakespeare's King Lear. In the morning shift, it was from Tempest, and in the afternoon shift, it is from King Lear. And again, in the afternoon shift, it was from Charles Dickens, Dombey and the Son. And the first one, the morning shift, it was from Thomas Hardy's Tess of the Bower. So that's why I said the question distribution is almost same, but on different levels. Okay, so this is from Shakespeare and the King Lear. Which of the following best captures what Shakespeare means? The correct answer is animals, unlike man, are more complex. Then, final question, is man no more than this means? So the correct answer is man is not as well endowed as some other animals. So the correct answer is option D. So these are the questions that were asked from the afternoon shift of NTA UGC NET December and June 2021 cycle, and we were discussing about the provincial answers, and in the upcoming videos we will be dealing with the questions in different forms, in different formats. We will be dealing with the chronological questions, etc. But like if you are preparing for your next NTA exam, have this in your mind, have a chronological order, give extra focus to the non-fiction works. Even if you look at all the works of the writers like anyway, if you look at the works of the writers who are known for the fiction works like T.S. Eliot or Matthew Arnold or Samuel Johnson, also have an equal concentration on their non-fiction works, because non-fiction and short stories, cultural studies, all this has got immense weightage for this exam. So that's all about this video. Thank you.